And also how I position myself is I'm kind of like a facilitator.
Yeah.
So yes, I write and I bring things together, but it's always about the other. So
Yeah.
now I'm shining like, ooh, this is all about
You're
me.
like, I don't know how to
But
do this.
I'm like the glue in between, or I'm the
Yeah.
one who brings it all together. But I want you to stand on the pedestal. Like I want you
Yes.
to shine,
Yes.
because if you shine, then that's kind of the role I've.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interesting People of Earth, your digital campfire for meaningful dialogue about life, purpose, and all the things that make us human. Today, we have a really cool guest, Carmen Hogg. I was actually introduced to you from a mutual friend, and since I met you, I was like, she needs to come on the podcast. So I do appreciate you coming, and I'm also honored. I'm going to do a brief background that I will be reading from my notes, so I just get everything right. Carmen grew up in the Dutch countryside and had early life experiences that have shaped her foundationally in who she is today, and we'll hear you can hear a bit of that later on. She had early aspirations of studying fashion, but had to pursue a more sensible career in hospitality. I say sensible in a funny way. But unfortunately, Carmen found hospitality too superficial and honestly misaligned to who she is. So during her bachelor's, rather than completing an internship in hospitality, she decided to study abroad in London. London opened up her worldview in a way that the Netherlands didn't. She was able to meet people from all walks of life, unlocking her passion for travel and different cultures. This curiosity followed her to grad school, where her research took her to South Africa and then to Ghana. I will let you talk more about that in detail. Today, Carmen is a freelance travel journalist and owns a showroom with her business partner in Amsterdam, where she showcases designers from all over the African continent. I know this was a very brief and very high-level intro because I want you to talk more into detail. I don't want to take away from your story. And I want through this conversation for people to also get a sense of your mindset and why I think your story is so fascinating, and it's more fascinating than your experiences. It's fascinating because I think you're a fascinating person. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
You're
that was the
making me
brief.
shy.
You're like,
so many words.
But I want to make people feel comfortable, and also everyone that I have on the show has a story to tell, and so I really want you to know that that's why you're here. So let's start from the beginning. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about your early life. How was life growing up in the Dutch countryside?
Until I didn't I didn't know any better, so I had a good childhood. Like I was playing around, I was always meeting different people in the village I grew up in, having fun, playing outside. Yeah. So far, so good. But then when I grew older, I was already like we chatted before, so I was into fashion. In meters 187, which is hella tall for a girl, and foot 6'1.5". So fashion was always a thing, not because I necessarily wanted to, because I had to, because all my friends were wearing like dresses and skirts, and as a kid you want to be like your friends, but then none of them fitted me because I was way too tall. So I kind of had to play around with creating them myself. Well, not me, but my mom back in the day. So I kind of grew up with fashion and having to have some sort of agency to create my own style, to fit in and to find the items that I was interested in. I grew up, I was playing around, then I started to have an interest in fashion, but then the countryside I grew up in wasn't much going on. So when I was like, I think 15 or 16, I used to take the train to Arnhem, which is not the biggest city. It's a fashion city, but it's not a big city in the Netherlands, to go shopping with my friends. And from my the money I made with my side job, I was buying magazines, and every Monday I was watching TV when the fashion programs were on, like Project Runway, Holland's Next Top Model, Fashion Police. So I did as much as I could with fashion. In that context at that time.
So then, clearly you started a relationship with fashion from a necessity, and then it's obviously something that you also grew to love. Why then didn't you just go into fashion? What made it so that you had a bit of a deviation before you came back?
Yeah, I think I felt that in the household I grew up in, that people didn't really understand fashion and didn't really support it. I don't think everybody gave me a hard no ever, but I don't think I even thought that for a girl like me, studying fashion was an option.
Okay.
So then I studied hospitality.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
was well received. And back then, my mom had already left. So I was in high school, my second last year. My mom left the family due to her personal challenges. But of course, for me as a child, my whole world was upside down. So I thought when I was in high school, oh my gosh, I'm going to do, the countryside thing where if you go to do your bachelor's, a lot of these schools are a bit farther away from the village. So you had to, get a room in a shared house with other students and live in the city as a student and do your studies. But I stayed at home with my dad and my brother. And from there, I kind of was trying to figure out what I could do. That Arnhem city had a fashion school, but I still chose to do hospitality and move up and down. Yeah,
I mean, it
travel
makes
up and
sense.
down every day. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that you felt. I mean, I can imagine your mom leaving. Felt you put a certain level of responsibility on yourself when that happened. That shaped your choices at that age.
Yeah.
So it does make sense that you weren't even you were like, oh, I have this passion, but I don't see this really making, or I don't have the ability to be creative about my career at this point in the same way.
Yeah.
And so then how did hospitality go? I mean, like we said in your intro, it was a bit misaligned with who you were. How did you realize that? What made it so that over time you're like, okay, I don't know if I can even pretend to like this anymore?
I still like hospitality to a degree, but like you said in the intro, it's way too superficial. Like,
yeah,
I remember back in the day, but I graduated in 2006. So this was from 2002 to 2006.
okay.
Way back. I'm 41 now, so this is back in the day. Upselling was a big thing. So the main thing was like, oh, make sure, people don't get the house wine, but make them get a more expensive wine. And all these models for ranking the prices of a hotel room, because you can only sell a hotel room once, right? Like with a product, if you don't sell one today, you can sell two tomorrow. But with services, if you don't sell your hotel room today, you cannot sell the same hotel room twice tomorrow. These mechanisms are like, okay, this is quite interesting, but it doesn't really make my heart beat rise or do any, like, it doesn't do anything with my emotions. And I think working in hospitality, I had my internship. I thought, okay, this is cool. I like this, but this is too superficial. And also people addressing, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the whole combination of, and though what I did, like I had an internship, which I did here in Amsterdam when I was 16 or 17. And I was working in Victoria Hotel, which is the hotel opposite Central Station.
I've seen
the world meets the world at Victoria. It's an amazing
place. The first thing you walk out of Central Station.
Literally everybody walks into Victoria Hotel. So it was an amazing time. Now there's a snipe store, I think, on the corner, but it used to be the restaurant where I used to work. So I've had so many crazy situations with interesting people happening there. So as an anthropologist, like the social scientist to me was like, this is interesting. But back in the day, it's like, yeah, this is nice, but there's more to life than making somebody have a wine or chatting to somebody at a bar. And though I like to chat to people and, I like good food, I like a good wine and, the good life.
Receiving it.
Yeah. And also once I go, it's like, it's an interesting world. And I mean, I still organize events and want people to experience something because hospitality is about experiences. But I just felt like, there's more to it. And by working in a hotel, I realized this is nice and I like all these people, but this is not the world I want to grow old in. Like, nah.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure hospitality you still use your basic hospitality principles in your work, but you felt like you wanted more than that. Yeah. And that makes sense. Yeah. I think I've worked in hospitality too. I think it's a very foundational career. Like it teaches you a lot of different skills that that's pretty interchangeable in a lot of
it's
different
a good basis, definitely.
It's a really good base.
And I have to say, like, I grew up in a household. My parents weren't working class, but a bit like above working class, but they're very inferior, insecure. They always said like, oh, art, it's not for us. We didn't have any artworks in the house. We had like my mom's DIY projects going on, and my dad he was good with his hands, so he used to build houses. My dad's born in Brazil, came here at a later age, never really spoke, like they spoke Dutch, but because they were from Brazil, he always felt behind. So they all started working in his family from a young age, also because they were poor, my grandma, whole story. So he always had like, we didn't go to university. So they always looked up to like, university. So I think I wanted to prove myself, especially with my mom leaving, like, I have this bachelor's now, but I want to prove that I'm smart. So I always felt like, oh, I still want to go to university, and I didn't want to study hospitality in university. And then I thought, oh, okay, hospitality is nice, but there's more. So then I wanted to top it up with something else. And then I was in London when I had to decide. I finished my final year in London, like you said. And so like, okay, I wanted to stay in London to study, to get my master's, but then the college fees were so expensive.
I can imagine.
So I was like, okay, I either have to start working here, and I didn't know how to, I was working at a translation job and in hospitality at some point. I was like, this is not the life. So I was like, okay, then let me move back to the Netherlands. So I just picked a master's from there, from a booklet that I had from a university. Okay, let's do Amsterdam. That study sounds good. I can go abroad with it. Let's go.
I can definitely relate to that. I feel like there's this pressure when you're 18 years old to have a sense of, one, who you are, and also from knowing who you are, what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And so I think it's so relatable that you're like, I just went to university to just check a box because this was something expected of me. This was assumed that I would do that. And through that process, in doing that, realizing what you like and you don't like. And I think that that ends up being the way people discover themselves, because you're supposed to make big decisions at a really young age. So then what happened between London and grad school that, like, what changed in you between London and then coming back to the Netherlands that then changed your worldview, or that changed what you wanted to do beyond just fulfilling an obligation?
Yeah, living in London, but also like you said, you mentioned the obligation that you have to go to grad school. For me, it was the other way around. I grew up in a situation where like it's not for us. So it's like, it's not for us. I'll show you that it's for us. I can do it. Which was a big brag. Like. It's also because of like probably my mom leaving and me feeling not good enough, like not important enough for her to stay, which I know is not true, but as a child, of course,
it's a very real reaction to that.
Like, I'm gonna prove to you or prove the world that I'm X, Y, Z. So yeah, and also because I didn't want to work.
Fair.
Already, I was like 20. How old was I? 2006. So it's like I don't even know. Like it was 20 years ago. 21.
It's also still so young.
Crazy, yeah. But yeah, living in London really changed my mindset. I was living on campus of the university that I was studying at, London Metropolitan University. Fun. And I was living with people from countries I didn't even know the existence of. I remember I was living in a corridor, like a hallway. We shared our bathroom and toilet with 10 people. Yikes.
Oh my goodness.
But 10 people that didn't really interact, because everybody was from different classes, from different faculties. So it was just like, hey, hi. Nobody gave a damn. And then I shook hands with a girl from Mauritania. I was like, where are you from? And back then I didn't know the country, and I felt so stupid. And she was like, you don't know my country? And I was like, no. Like,
so bold. You're from Mauritania. Not many people hear about that country.
And then, the security guard, Lamine, when you walked in our halls, he was from Senegal, and he was playing music at that point. From his country, pop music. I was like, this is interesting. This is a vibe. I don't know this. I never heard of this. And then the whole, I used to play football or soccer, as an American would say, for university. And then every Wednesday we went in a van with the whole team to the pitches because they were a bit out of town. But then the hockey team also joined us. But the hockey team was the national team of Trinidad and Tobago. And they all were on scholarships studying in London. So every Wednesday we were clubbing at the school club. And they were playing soca music, which I never heard of. And then suddenly, like, hey, all of us, because we were befriending them. Like, I was dancing to soca music and to Marshall and I was like, oh, I like this. I was exposed to so much more than the context I grew up in. I got thirsty for life even more. Like all these different people. And I always had a thing for music. So I was blasting music. I was stealing my brother's CD, who still hates me for it, when I was younger. So music and fashion, like those two things. And then, when you go clubbing, and suddenly I went shopping in London. I saw all these different styles and people. And I even braided my hair. Gosh, I went to Nigeria. I braided my hair more than once, sorry. But I braided my hair. I went to Nigerian barber, found hair, and I had cornrows. I went to uni with cornrows. It's like, there's a whole transformation going on.
But you were learning. I mean, for you, this was, you came from a background where you weren't exposed to that much, and then it makes sense that you're like, wow, there's a whole world out there that's so interesting and new. And so I can see that from your perspective, you were appreciating and trying to
I was hungry. Like, imagine that you have rice and chicken every day, and suddenly there's this whole buffet with all different, I'm like, ooh,
no.
What suits me? And I was 20, so like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. And I think it's good for us to talk about it from that foundation of like, because I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinterpretation in this era of cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. Hearing your story and the foundation of your story being from a perspective of, my world was opened up in a way that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And so I'm like engaging in it with it from a place of like, I'm just this excited kid in a candy store.
Still am.
That obviously over the years you've like been more in that world, that you now have your own identity more fixed within it. That of course when you were younger, you're like, yeah, I'll wear the boo-boo, yeah, I'll get my hair braided, yeah, I'll do, whatever you guys want to do. I want to be one of you. Like, you
never
know,
wore a boo-boo. I didn't go that far, but still, yeah, I did braid my hair, definitely. Yeah, no, so like, that said, people have, even fast forward to today, people ask me like, oh, how do you feel about cultural appropriation? I even wrote an article on it like back in 2017 when the word was like buzzing. Now it's a bit slowed down, but back then it was like, ooh, this new word, cultural appropriation. And me as a blonde white woman from Amsterdam, working and wearing and mingling with cultural things like music, fashion that are not mine, especially in the world that we live in today, which is still not an equal world. Like, it is a subject that is hanging around me, and I know its appreciation, and probably if you know me, you understand it as well. But if you don't know me, I'm still a white woman wearing Air Afrique today and Prince. So you can, like, if you don't me, you can, if you want, accuse me of. Definitely.
So, but I think it's good to have, like, I think your awareness and your addressing of it shows that it's cultural appreciation, because I think that people that end up appropriating are so like, they're like, how? No, I could never. They're much more defensive. Like, it's clear that I think that you're probably more aware of African cultural or related things than me. And I'm from Nigeria. So it's like you have academic almost like interest in it that shows that it's from a place of, like you said, you wrote an article about cultural appropriation when it was in vogue. You're recognizing and you're being self-aware within it. And so I think there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's like me being super fascinated with Asian culture. It's like you could say, well, that's not your culture. Why are you super into it? But I don't get that same criticism as a Black woman for appreciating another culture. And so I think there's definitely a conversation
race
there.
dynamics are, I mean...
Yeah. What they are.
It's a whole other podcast.
Before we go too deep into the deep end. So then London, you get a new lease on life. The world is opened up to you. How does that, but then you have to go back to the Netherlands because it's too expensive to pursue a master's degree there. So then how does that carry with you back to the Netherlands?
So I selected a master's from the booklets. I think it was literally a physical booklet. I don't even know how I got it in London. But, and I chose one which was social sciences, because I already knew like, this anthropological, social look on life suits me, because I'm a curious being and I like to understand. I like people and I like to understand why people do things. And then with that studies I chose, I remember I was like, I want to be able to go abroad again. So like kind of select like with which ones can I go abroad? And then from that I chose one. So I found one. It was called Culture, Organization and Management at the VU here, Vrije Universiteit.
Okay.
And I could go abroad with it to do my research again for like 3 months or longer. So I figured, okay, let's go. And I already knew, because I was exposed to so many cultures from the African continent, the people, and also to hip life back then already. P Square, do me. Like that song was already like moving around in London. And a big thing, I was listening to Choice FM, which was the national radio station. I had my laptop with the cable in it for the internet, and then Choice FM was I think it's now BBC One Extra. It's like the hip hop Afro radio station from the BBC. Where they used to play the soca, and so that's where I fed myself with the music that I was interested in. So there was bits and bobs of what we now know as Afrobeats already being played on the radio. So I figured, I like this, and I've always liked music as well and fashion. So I figured maybe I can find a way to study that, and so it would take me to a African country, because I grew up in a village and I went to a Christian primary secondary school, not because my parents were religious, because it was the close by to our house. I loved it because I like storytelling. I do believe in God. But I remember I was raised with UNICEF commercials with the African kid with a fly in the eye. And we used to, every Monday when we started school, we took some money with us to school to put in a fund so that we could build a orphanage house. The school could build an orphanage house somewhere, the Christian missionary, whatever, in a African country. So my whole mindset of Africa was poor. And I even used to pray oh, God, please help the poor children in Africa. That's how because I cared. I was oh my gosh, these poor little beings. Look at me playing. And then I moved to London. I was hold on a minute, this doesn't match.
It's actually much nicer.
So it's I realized wait, how I was raised and the mindset I had, or the image I have doesn't match with what I come across here.
Yeah.
So okay, let me just try to see if I can go there and experience myself, see what it's like. And then I use music as an angle to experience a country. So I wanted to go to Nigeria, but my dad was a police guy, so he said, name, my daughter, going to Nigeria. So he allowed me to go to Ghana.
Yeah.
He cried when he put me in the airplane because he thought I was I'm giving my daughter away to
She's never coming back.
Yeah. And he visited me in Ghana. She's I have to see this map. I have to see this
Probably
myself.
Opened up his world too.
Yes, you did. He was eating chicken and rice every day and having nice big Starbies. So I went to Ghana.
Okay, how was that? How was that experience?
Yeah.
And what were you researching there? What was the project?
I was researching first. You said so I hadn't been. Now I've been to South Africa quite a few times, but I hadn't been to South Africa. But so at university, you have to find a lecturer that is willing to guide you through that's willing to manage or guide you through your thesis, right? So you have a subject and somebody has to guide you and make sure you get your grades and you get it.
Yeah.
So there was this one teacher, Harry Wells, the interesting guy. He was very big on South Africa. So I thought, he was with my faculty. So maybe I have to go to South Africa. And he knew I played football. So he's there's the World Cup is happening in 2010. This was 2008, I was traveling abroad. Maybe you can study the girls' footy team in whatever village in South Africa. And I was I mean, but do I want to specialize in football? I play football, but it's not I never watched any match. I couldn't care. And then one of my friends said, who was with she studied anthropology, and she was going to Ghana, and she said, maybe there's this one lecturer that is willing to supervise you, so you can still go to Ghana. It's wait, so I told Harry, sorry, let me see.
Bye.
Yeah. So I found them. I wanted to focus on the representation of hip life artists. So back then, Afrobeats from Ghana was called hip life. It was it's developed from what it was, but it's a hip hop hip life beat, high life beat, so a more West African beat, and people are rapping on it in a local language. I thought, this is interesting because it's still rap, and all of these artists that were doing it, most of them had lived abroad. A lot of them in the States came back and then started making music. So it's identity and what they were wearing, because they were wearing jerseys, but then it was still in trio and gao, and I would this is interesting. So I studied the representation of hip life artists through music and the fashion. So what would they wear and how would they? But then my supervisors were very big on remittances and on social. Not social capital, but something on the status. Yeah. So I had to kind of merge it to that, but I was no, I want to focus on style. Yeah. And it was good because back then, it's still alive, Google Scholar. I was able to literally read all these theories on style, on identity, on the history of music in West Africa. I was I printed out so much. I still have them somewhere, papers and essays on style and music and identity. And I was like a kid in a candy store.
That's so fascinating. That's such an interesting niche that you carved out for yourself so early on. I'm sure maybe today it's much more common, but back then I'm sure that was a very new intersection. Yeah. So so you go to Ghana for 3 months doing this research. 4 months. Yeah. How did you come back? Who was Carmen when she returned to the Netherlands after that?
Well, I think what is interesting to say is when I was there, so mind you, Facebook was there. There was no WhatsApp. There was no Instagram. There was no social media but Facebook. And you had internet cafes here in the Netherlands, but also in the Netherlands, we had internet at home that you had to plug in and then you could do your thing. But in Ghana, in Accra, you had to go to internet cafes. So it was in Accra, I realized what it was like to have a skin color that was different than the norm. So I was But I think London, no, London didn't have it because London was just at a uni. We're all partying, every kid from everywhere, and I could be whatever. But in Ghana, of course, I'm freaking tall. I'm very white. And
Can't miss you.
In Accra back then, so it's like I was being confronted with being white and all the stereotypical ideas that came with being white, which I think I was annoyed. There were days that I didn't want to go outside because people were yelling stuff at me like, "Oh, I want to marry you, take me to Holland, and give me money," because all these ideas on being white were still present, right? Much more back then than it is now, thanks to social media, because they also know that there's a lot of clowns that look like me. So I think it shaped me, and oh gosh, in my mindset, as in, race relations, stereotypical ideas, the position, how it is from when you're from there, and then when you move here, how you're on the other end of the so it just I don't know, I don't even know how it shaped, but it was interesting.
I'm sure it was definitely a different, like, just being in an environment where there's assumptions, or I think for you specifically, because I'm sure for other marginalized people, this is the like de facto how we experience the world, of like there's so many assumptions placed on you. That you're like, this is not even remotely who I am. And so I'm sure for you, going into a space where they're not seeing Carmen, they're seeing a white person, and that's all they see. I'm sure that was a jarring experience when you came from a world where you were Carmen, not just a white woman, I knew
that there was racism. Mind you, again, this is like back in the day, right? I was young. I knew that there was racism and inequality, but I lived it. So coming back, I think I've always been pretty empathic to others. Like, I'm social, happy, like I like people, but it really changed how I experienced, how I looked at migration as well, and the inequalities that came with it, and the stuff people say. I started looking at the news in a different way, like, this is unfair. So it really opened my vision for inequality, like based on your look, your appearance. So either your skin color or
And travel does that. I think we were talking about that earlier, of like, there's some things that you can only understand when you travel. Like, you can only imagine and have, we all have a certain level of cognitive empathy about the world. Like you were saying, you felt, sad for the perceived African children that are suffering, because you have this empathy for them. But it's very different when you travel and you see the real nuance, and then you also experience things. I can cognitively empathize with someone that has an X situation, but until I'm faced with it in a very like confronting way, it doesn't really properly register. And so it's really interesting and really cool that you were able to have those experiences that widened your perspective, perspective of the world. So then you come to Ghana. So, because I'm trying to, so you go to Ghana, and then you come back to the Netherlands, and you're still in grad school. You finish up.
Yeah, I had to write my thesis, which was my first depression in life ever. Because it's just one subject, only I lived the experience, right? Because I was there alone, and then suddenly you come back and you have to make sense of whatever you like. I did interviews, observations, and then you have to write it into a thesis and make sure you graduate. And it was like, it was hard.
A lot,
yeah. But also, the one thing I have to add, in Ghana, which really shaped me, was I came across tailors. And like I said, when I was younger, I used to make clothing with my mom because nothing fitted me. But then again, it opened my world again, like, oh my gosh, yes, clothing are supposed to fit you, and you're not supposed to fit the clothing. So it kind of opened my world again to, oh yeah, this is what fashion should be like. And the whole world of tailoring, there was some clothing brands popping up from there. And then I started, creating an interest again in clothing and the manufacturing of clothing and wearing clothing. Coming back here, I thought, okay, this is a part of popular culture coming from Ghana or West Africa that I'm interested in. Let me see in Amsterdam. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
Who is doing that? Because I want more of this. I want to know what it's like on this end of the equator. So I freelanced or I volunteered with any African culture. Probably people know me because I've done. Oh gosh, not her again. So I was with Africa Fashion Week Amsterdam. I did PR for them. I was with Miss Africa Netherlands. I done project coordination. This is Africa was a website. I did some volunteering with them on Mondays. For Vibes, I did PR, which is not too long ago, but still. What else? There's more. African Picture Film Festival. I was a coordination of whatever room, volunteering.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, I want to expand my network, get to know people, and see how things are done on this side of the world.
And what did you feel like? How did that experience maybe help you fall in love more with that, or did you feel like you were still figuring it out at that time when you were interning?
Yeah, I was still figuring it out, and I didn't stick with organizations for too long because I always felt like, oh, this is nice and this is good, but it doesn't fit me like a glove. Yeah. It's interesting, but what I like or what I'm interested in is a bit different somehow. So then at some point I thought, and I started working for the government here for a project in the Bijlmer, Amsterdam Zuidoost, where it was poverty reduction, so something completely different. But then I wanted to do more quote unquote field work, so be outside and have the office job combined. And then they were working with a lot of people that just settled in the Netherlands. So I was like, oh, there's still a lot of Ghanaians and Nigerians and people from here, so let me work there and expand my network. Yeah. And then I could do more events and PR and stuff. So therefore I know Philip, who one of the guys I freaked. I know him for like we were just chatting, right? Since we're in the early 20s. So I started working there and expanding my network here. But then I also thought like, okay, and when I was working, I had some money. I traveled to Ghana, I traveled to Kenya, I went to South Africa, I went to Suriname. I was like, yo, let's where can we go? Let's do it. And then I thought like, if nobody's, it's not documented, but if nobody's doing or capturing the stuff that I'm interested in, then if nobody's doing it, you got to do it yourself, which is a bit my life motto. If nobody's doing it, you got to do it yourself if you want to do it. And if not, you got to stay quiet.
I don't think you've had much of a choice. Your life has been like this traditional regular path doesn't really suit me, doesn't make sense. And I think there's a sense too that I get from talking to you right now and just all the conversations that we've had is you do know what you want. It's like this amorphous thing of like, you know exactly what you don't want. And there's these moments where you've tried a bunch of different things, but you're like, this doesn't fit with me. Yeah. And there seems to be this through line of like, I don't know I know what I want. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that all these things are not it. Yeah, and so I think it makes sense that you found your own very specific niche and intersection, because I don't think it would have been good enough for you otherwise. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And maybe it's also when my mom was still around, when she was a bit unhappy, I guess, she always had excuses for not to do something. Yeah, when I was younger, I also wanted to do this, but and that's like, even the way I say it annoys everything out of me. It's like, you probably have this one life. You don't know if you're still here tomorrow. So there's nothing to lose. Let's just get it. At least try. There's nothing worse than not trying, I believe. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we can just, and I'm still trying to make ends meet and, trying to, I don't know if I'll get where I want to be, but I'm like, let's just go for it and try it. And if not, then you can rest and do something else, but at least you try to live your dream or try to start whatever project that you're interested in. And then,
And that makes sense. I mean, I can imagine like whether, I'm sure you've processed it in your own way, but the decision that your mom made that I'm sure you understand now differently as an adult, definitely like etched in you this mindset of like, I saw someone not live for themselves and what that cost to me and to them. I'm not going to let that happen to me. Right. These are these unconscious messaging that you don't realize is your foundation of who you are.
And also the few years that I felt that I had to stay in the village that I grew up in, and then those few years till moving to London is like, it's like in London I kind of exploded like, yes, I'm free. This is who.
No, so but I think there's an additional layer too that you're maybe not realizing, or maybe you do realize, maybe you're not speaking on, is that the responsibility that came from it too. Like something happening where someone in a family unit leaves a lot of responsibility on the kids to now make sure your dad is okay.
Oh gosh,
and so I think it makes sense, like you have so much responsibility put on you so young. Of course, the moment you got a little bit of freedom, you're like, let's go.
I'm out.
Peace. I'm gonna see the world. I'll see you when I get back. And so that makes sense. Okay, so going back to now, you're traveling the world. You're feeding this bug that you caught when you were in London initially. How did that then translate into what you're doing now and your exploration in fashion and the showroom that you have? Like, how did you decide, oh, this thing that I want to see here in the Netherlands doesn't exist. I guess I'm gonna create it.
Yeah.
How did you get to that place?
It started very simple with a blog back in 2014, 15, 16, one of these days. So I was like, okay, I was traveling, meeting all these people, meeting all these designers, and I thought, people were blogging back in the day. Like now we have, I just launched my Substack. Like people have
Exactly.
Substack is a blog. But back in the day, like the blog was the
Actual
only thing
blogs,
that you could actually have for yourself. So I started blogging with way too many words, lengthy interviews that nobody wanted to read. And I could like drag the images in there myself. So I started blogging and sharing these on my Facebook.
Okay.
And then suddenly people were responding to it and picking up on it. And I was still in Amsterdam going out to different places. Just now I have 2 children. Now I'm not outside as much. But I used to be somewhere. Like people know me from events.
Yeah.
And then people picked up on it. So at some point, I think I wrote an article on the head wrap because I saw what I find. I think my lens also is in writing. I think the outside, like we as people, I find very interesting. The streets, what we wear in the streets, what we do in the streets is interesting. And then a trend or something catches my eye, and then I do research and write about it. So I suddenly thought like, oh, there's more girls wearing hat wraps, prints, and in public. So I wrote something on that, and then this network of museum curators, Modemuse, had a talk, and they were like, you wrote something about the hat wrap. Would you speak about it at an event that we have? I'm like, well, I just done my research. Like, it's not that I'm an expert. Like, I wouldn't talk about but just share your findings and like, okay. And then from there, it kind of started rolling. That people knew, like, oh, Carmen is always going to these countries. Carmen is busy with fashion from. Carmen knows designers in. Carmen knows
this and that.
Yeah, through my social media, but also by showing face. And it was like, oh, are you in town? I thought you were. People always thought I was traveling to Ghana or to wherever. So at some point, curators also started asking me like, oh, do you know Sunny Dolat from Kenya? I'm like, yeah, of course I know Sunny. What do you need? And so then I linked them. So it kind of became, by still traveling and being outside and meeting people, and I have a natural interest in people, so I like to spend time with people and have drinks and parties and everything. I have a network, and then people knew that, hey, Carmen is busy with, and then
so you kind of, just by doing carved out your own niche. Because I mean, whenever I think of networking, I think of it as like you're forcing this thing, but you're naturally that, like you're naturally curious.
I never realized,
naturally
because in hospitality, one of the things like networking is like,
what does that even mean? Like, I just have to go talk to people.
Like, oh, but it's like I think people are interested. So it's like and I used to show up everywhere. So like, let me just be. And I think what works, I never realized it, but I am tall, and I have this. I bleach my hair. I have to definitely. I'm seeing my hairdresser on Tuesday for months, but I'm tall and have this blonde hair for like over 15 years. It's like. So you're like, hey, she's here again. And then because I often travel, then you always have nice stories to tell, or it's it's not that I have a 9 to 5. There's always stuff happening. So
and so you solidified. I think it's so interesting to like you aligned over time in what you are, I guess, your highest passion, for lack of a better word, the things that make you genuinely happy, and through doing that you created something for yourself, which I think is like the most, like what a lot of people wish things would end up being. I think when I think of networking, it sounds so dull, but it's like, it sounds dull if you're in an industry that you don't enjoy talking to those people. Like you're saying, you're talking to all these interesting people because they're interesting to you. These are the people that you would like to talk to anyways. And so I think it's so interesting that this is something that I've been also discovering for myself, and I find fascinating with people that have unconventional careers or go off the beaten path, is that it takes a moment of alignment, of realizing what does make me happy, and if it doesn't make sense to other people, and if it's just me bipping and bopping or seeming like this interesting person, I know to my core what I'm doing and where that's coming from. And so I think it's really beautiful that all of those things came together from just like your love of traveling and fashion and music. And
I have to admit, like, I've learned, I'm bold by now, but I've also learned to be that. Like, for example, at events, people like certain friends hate me. It's like they vanish and they go out. But me, because even my set of skills, like I'm not a photographer with a lens, so like there's a whole lot of different things that I do.
Yeah.
So I always think people, I need to have, like, for me, having good relationships with people is important.
Yeah.
Because it's not one thing that I excel in. It's like different things. It's having a network, it's writing, it's producing, it's bringing people together, it's doing research. It's all these soft, like hard to box skills or services that I offer. So I always greet people. And also if which I used to shit my pants because I'm an extrovert, but I'm also introvert pretty like.
Yeah.
But then if I leave, I always greet people. Not because I want the cool people to know me, but because I think it's nice.
It's respectful.
Yeah, it's respectful. It's nice. And also, last year this time around, I was in Marrakesh during 154, an art fair.
Oh, wow.
And I went to an exhibition of a photographer, and he was there at the exhibition. And I was like, oh, I know it's him. And I was like, I'm just going to shake his hand and tell him I love his work. Because people like to be complimented, people like to be seen.
Yeah.
So I told myself, okay, I always have to do it. And we sell his book in the showroom that I have with Coco. So I just chatted him like, I love your work and we have your book and we're based in Amsterdam and it's one of the best selling books. People love your work as well. Maybe you forget, but it's nice to be nice.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned in Ghana. It's nice to be nice.
Yes.
But also it's just give people their flowers, and it's also like it will come back to it. Yeah. And I don't greet him because I wanted to come back, but I greet him to be like I just
genuinely that's what you wanted to do. I think a lot of people, like, I do appreciate you saying that, like, that boldness that you're saying is really just, I think, common decency, but I think it's a lot of like lost skills. Like, it does make sense going to a show with someone that you really enjoy their work. Go be like, you did an amazing job. And they want to hear that too. That makes them feel good. But that's like where networking becomes like less like social climby and manipulative and more like, no, I have this network because I genuinely like these people and I think they're amazing.
And people are often insecure, like, but who am I to tell him? And like, I'm nobody. I know I'm nobody. I'm just enthusiastic about your work. And I truly believe that everybody, no matter who you are, like to be seen and recognized for what you do. So everybody can applaud or give people their flowers, no matter who you are. So that's what I always do. Yeah. Even with Coco, my business partner now as well, she's a photographer. I write. So I pitched an article about Lagos Fashion Week for a magazine some years back, and Coco was like, but how I'm like, people want a picture of themselves. People would love to share their stories with another person. So it's like, you can approach anybody and say like, hey, how are you? Like, even now, like, look at me chatting and I'm a nobody. But we love to, like, even though we might be a bit shy, we might be a bit, I think we want to be seen as people. Yeah. And if you can do that, then
Or have ourselves reflected through someone else. Like, I think we want other people to really see us too. And I think that's your superpower, let's say. Those big words, but I think that's where I see your strength in being able to understand what people need before they realize that they fully need it. I think the hospitality element has stayed with you because when we're talking earlier, you're like, I'm traveling, and so I just pitch these articles and these sort of ideas to publications, and I submit it to them ready-made. That is a very bold move, but it's also a very like intentional and strategic understanding of how these things work. Sometimes people just want you to do it and then see what you've done, and then they're like, oh I didn't even realize this was something that I wanted. I think that is in itself, I see a lot of soft skills that are just who you are, but that are things that people teach other people to do. Like, you know how parents are like, you want that job? Well, then DM the recruiter and send them an email and show yourself more. But that's how you are naturally. Like, of course, I'm going to have to show myself in this way because they don't know me. Yeah. They don't know what I have to offer. I have to show them.
I'm genuinely interested in, like, I've sent so many emails to so many people. Hey, I like what you do. Like, we don't know each other, but would you have an hour to have a coffee with me and tell me about your work? And I've gotten so many yeses. Wow. Without, like, no strings attached. Just me, this person who's interested in what you do. And of course, then I've done some research and I'm like, I'll ask you questions, but it's like, and that's also networking without, and then of course I buy the coffee. I pay you the coffee. And also what you said with the articles, a lot of people have fear of being rejected. Yeah. which is, even now, I pitched 100. I launched my Substack, and Substack gives you, I never knew, like I didn't do anything with Substack, but they give you, if you want to share from Substack website, if you want to share your article, they give you these social media images that you can use on your Instagram or whatever. And I was like, because I felt, okay, all the pitches, all the articles I pitch with magazines that nobody picks upon, I'll put them on my Substack. And then I thought, oh my gosh, Substack it gives me my own magazine, because it gives you like this headliner, your images worked into it. So like, this is smart of Substack. And then I also saw a meme of, Substack is every young girl's dream of being an editor at a magazine, because you can kind of create your own magazine. But what it says, I get so many no's and so many not replies of people. Don't take them personal. Just go. Like, out of the 15 emails I pitch, 3 get answered, and half of it is a yes. So what you see online is like, oh, not a success, or somebody is teaching there, or have this pitch or this article at L or whatever. You don't want to. I've been chasing people, and I've been taking so many no's, but just go on.
Such a good lesson for people that are in a creative space or trying to do something that is not conventional or traditional. Is the reality of it. Like, yes, you on one hand are doing what you're passionate. What is your passion, and you have a bit of freedom, and on the outside looking in, and it looks like maybe you have this fun, interesting life. But the reality too is that you're putting yourself out there in ways that a lot of people don't realize that they have to, and also may have the courage to do so. And being realistic with people wanting to do things like this, like, you're going to live your dream life, and you're going to be excited, and you're going to have, but it has a lot of responsibility. Like you're saying, like, I still have the same problems of making ends meet and being a human being and like a responsible adult. But you get to do these amazing and interesting things because you believe in yourself in a way that you have to be able to do that. And I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, and also the responses I've gotten from people. So what I'm in my niche. And I'm pitching, for example, articles to magazines, which is like the quote, like the fashion world. And I think they need it and they want it. But of course, who the F am I to think that they want it? So even if they don't want it, but then in my surroundings, people within me may show interest and show that there's... So what I have now is like, okay, I want to make a magazine. So I'm working on the dream of launching my own magazine on contemporary fashion from Africa. Because, pitching articles here and there. I think from the Netherlands, we need a publication like that. If, like, by doing it, I'm like, the responses will tell me whether I was living in a dream, thinking that whether I was
just in my head,
or whether what I feel was indeed true. But then, it might cost me a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and if it fails, it fails. But at least I tried.
Exactly.
Because now it's like, I think I am gonna do it. But I think the world needs that. It's like, we're going to do a magazine, and with writers from the continent, stories from there, fashion.
I think that would be really cool. I mean, thinking about your store, and also we're wearing clothes from designers in your store. And these are pants from a designer in Lagos, and the same designer as well. Looking at your showroom, looking at the art, and also looking at the books and the culture and the vibe of the space, I definitely can imagine that type of publication or that intersection in terms of a publication would do really well, or at the very, 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 very least would be well received in spaces that are similar to your showroom. How have you seen the reception of the showroom? Like, has that clued you in as to how a magazine or a publication would be received?
For those, showroom is a store that I run with Coco, a store and creative space, event space, where we sell clothing that we import from different cities, different designers on the African continent, like what you're wearing. This shirt, but the trousers from the same brand. And where we have beautiful coffee table books and magazines that we do want to buy whenever we're in stores, but we can't find them anywhere. So then again, if nobody's doing it, you got to do it yourself. So we have a nice curation of magazines and books. And we organize events like book readings. Coco has a photography book club. Stuff that we do both miss in Amsterdam, we do there. And what I realized, so I was writing and I was curating at these events, making film productions, photo shoots, yada, 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 for places here in Amsterdam as well. But what I realize is having a physical space makes you more. People take me more serious or something because I have a physical space. I have like a front door in the street that you can, not an office 3 floors up, but it's literally like street side.
Yeah.
We have a massive window, you can peek through it, and we sell clothing.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to sell clothing because I figured if I talk about fashion from Africa, having these stories out, yes, but who's winning, as in who's making money?
Yeah.
Nobody. So it's like, and whenever we traveled, I got back. I always shop like a maniac, as if I had. And then people tell me, "Oh, I love your shirt. Where can I get it?" It's like, "Yeah, I got it in Lagos. Oh, yeah, I got it in here."
Yeah.
And I don't want to be people's personal shopper because that takes too much time and it's not one of the services I offer. So I figured, okay, let me see what it does if I bring clothing with me and sell them in store to see how the responses are to selling clothes, so that whatever we sell here, I can send money back there, and we're all winning because I have my little percentage, and they're actually making money from whatever I am doing.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a direct gain. And also the clothing, what you're wearing is print. This one is of same brand, but we don't sell this one in store. A lot of the clothing that we sell is very monochromatic. So it's a lot of blacks, a lot of denims, a lot of grays, whites, to kind of challenge people's perception as well in the Netherlands about what clothing from Africa looks like. Because we still think that there's a lot of prints and cultural wear, whereas there's so much other design that could be labeled as Scandinavian or Japanese, but it's still very African.
Yes.
But it doesn't look for a Western eye African, because we still think about the kid with the flying eye. Like the perception of Africa in the Netherlands is still very narrow, I believe, and I want to expand it with other realities and other stories so that people. So,
I think fashion is a cool way to do that. It's something that we all have to wear clothes,
Yeah.
I think I do love the intentionality and your approach of, I could have continued to just benefit from, the stories of these designers or my connections, but you wanted to make sure that everybody wins.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of continuation of the conversation we're having at the beginning of, like, when people know you and they really know your motivations and your genuine interest in this, it's clear that this is not coming from a place of exploitation or what is usually thought of when a white woman is in these spaces. You're being very intentional in making sure that, and also being very aware of your responsibility as well. And I think that's really amazing, and that's a good guidebook for people as to how to enter the space, because it would be unfair for you to be like, I have this interest, but I can't pursue it because of the perceptions of people like me in that space. That would not be genuine and authentic to you either.
And also, I'm very aware of my. Or I think I don't know. Like I think I'm very aware of my being in the context that I'm working and moving around in.
Yeah.
And also, I'm still doing what I'm doing because people want to work with me. Whenever brands come to Netherlands, they want to do pop up. So for me, that is a confirmation of, okay, I'm still saying, what I feel that I'm doing still makes sense. And people I do. And I know as a white woman, it's easier to maybe get a publication somewhere. Or I know the dynamics also work in my favor, but I like to believe by still, making moves and also have people from the continent willing to work with me or collaborate with me. Or even now, I'm off to SA in a week and a half, and I'm going to do a brunch thingy with a designer that I met briefly. We've been talking online because I like his designs and he's willing to do it with me. I'm like, how do you know you can trust? But I mean, so by being able to do what I do because others are willing to work with me, that for me is the confirmation. Like, okay, I'm still sane, and I have my what I feel that I'm doing still makes sense somehow.
That's true. Like, you're still getting the reception from art, and also I'm sure for them it's like you probably have built a reputation that you will do it well with them. So I think that's a good litmus test for you to be like, if they're still coming to me, then I must still be doing it the right way. And that makes sense.
And also how I position myself is I'm kind of like a facilitator. So yes, I write and I bring things together, but it's always about the other. So now I'm shining like, this is all about
You're
me.
Like, I don't know how to do this.
I'm never this. I'm like the glue in between, or I'm the one who brings it all together, but I want you to stand on the pedestal. Like I want you to shine. Because if you shine, then that's kind of the role I've.
Yeah. And I've noticed that with you. The first time I met you in person, we were at this opening museum, and you had a designer there with you, and you were very much like, this is the person that I brought. And I could, so I could tell also, I can see that too, through how you move in those types of spaces that you are trying to be very intentional, and you don't want it to be like, because I think for you, you just naturally stand out. So there's nothing you can do about that. But
Can't hide.
but there's a part of you that's like, okay, like I know I stand out, but here I'm going to use the fact that I stand out actually.
I'm like
this. Yeah, exactly.
Direct. Yeah.
And I think this is, I think, like I was saying before, like this is genuinely what you are interested in, and this is your passion, and also what you're good at. So it's like, this is really the sweet spot that everybody wished their career would be, where it's like a combination of something that, you fell into it because of your own natural interest, and then it became something. And then before you know it, you now have a career built upon this thing that you couldn't have even possibly imagined was going to be your life.
Side note, I do still take on projects that you don't see me share online or whatever to make ends meet. Because having that shop, the rent is more than the money we make through the commission that we have on clothes and books. So don't trust the gram is my one line. I'll make it look nice. I'm not the person who's going to share, but I do have a lot of like assignments that I take on just, because you need cash flow as well. That I don't yap about online because it's not necessarily in the direction that I
but that's real, and a lot more people probably that are inhabiting the space do that. I mean, I think that's the reality. I think that people should understand when it comes to follow your passion and do what makes you happy, but understand that we still live in a capitalist world.
Take.
We still have to eat. Money is still a real thing, and talking about that nuance, and I think that's the best way to really wrap up the conversation. I think my question in terms of the takeaway of like, what has living an unconventional life? I know we mentioned in previous conversations of like, whenever you go out, people are always asking you like, so what do you do? And it's like this whole conversation, and we talked about it in terms of like, I think for a lot of people it's a projection of like, I didn't do everything that I wanted to do, and so this person that's doing it triggers something in me. But there's a lot more nuance in that story. People see you living your life, and they see you experiencing the world, and they have a story projected onto you. But you're like, yeah, that's true. But also, I'm still an adult that has responsibilities, and those things are really real too. What advice or piece of information or just general like sentiment would you share to someone that wants to live a life that is from what they really truly genuinely want to do, and that looks different from what we're told how life should be? What would you tell them from your experiences?
I think we need to take risks, especially here in the Netherlands. Like, we are pretty comfortable with I mean, there's struggles, people are struggling, but if you look at other like, the struggle is, I mean, you're not from here, like but we are afraid to lose our comforts. So take risks and just go for it. And no, speaking into presence. So there's one thing I thought, okay, I do stuff in fashion. So I gave myself the label style anthropologist. I don't yap about it as much as I did before, but I still carry that label because I thought I need something that people understand. Nobody understands style anthropologist, but something like label under which I can do all the things that I do.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to Janice Dill, a famous activist and writer from Netherlands. And we went to opening, and she introduced me to whatever. But it's like, yeah, this is Carmen. She's a style anthropologist. I'm like, I hadn't produced anything yet. I was just thinking, I need a name.
Yeah.
And then claim it. That's also one thing. Just claim whatever you're claiming. Because if you believe in it, it is something the moment you say it is something.
Yeah.
Anthropologist is, I made up the term. Nobody knows what it is. So people, I'm like, oh, I don't know what it is. I'm like, yeah, true, because I made it up. So it makes sense that you don't know what it is.
But let me explain to you.
And then you can just... take risk, claim it, say it. Now everyone is about manifesting, yes, but just do it. Just go for it, put yourself out there and take a little risk. Yeah. And also, don't narrow yourself down. Like, Coco always says, like, oh yeah, somebody says, I take pictures. No, you're a photographer. Just, because if you start taking yourself serious, and if you start believing that, oh, this is actually... I can do it, or at least I'm going to try to see if I can do it, then it's going to move. If you're going to be, I don't know, it's not going to happen.
And people are not going to believe you if they can tell you don't. You don't even believe it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I can see that through line of like your boldness comes from a place of, I know who I am, and I know what I'm coming into the space with. Yeah. And even being able to cold pitch an article, a project to a magazine and be like, sure, they can take it or leave it, shows your such a strength and inner confidence that you do need to do something like this to have the life that it's not just enough to say I'm passionate and I have these dreams. You have to also be brave and